In terms of breaking through procrastination, I think one of the most important things that we have to tackle is our mindset. That may sound cliche. You hear that a lot if you're in the personal development space, but it's so commonly harped on because it is by far the most important. What's happening, family? Welcome to the Getting the Win show. I am your host, Melissa Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for taking time out of your Sunday to check out the official launch of the show. So, just want to make sure that, give you guys a little lay of the land, let you know a little bit more about me. And yes, we do get into some meat today. I do provide an important tip for you just as a starting point for fighting procrastination a little bit later in the episode. So if you're somebody that wants to get right down to the nitty gritty, right down to the meat, no problem. Just check out the description below to check out the specific timestamp and jump right to it. That way you can save your time. But if you're somebody that values detail and you want to learn a little bit more about me and a little bit more about the series, I got you too. I'm gonna give it to you. So who am I and why should you listen to me? I'm Melissa Thomas. I am an 8-time self-published author. I am a 5-year U.S. Navy veteran. And hey, shout out to all the veterans and active duty service members and reservists that are out there. Once we put on the uniform, it never comes off, I promise you. We still there. I'm also a 2-time college graduate. I have a bachelor's in film and a master's in entertainment business from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. Shout outs to Full Sail. But more importantly than all of that, because after all of that, by the way, also helped build one of the fastest growing minority owned digital broadcast news networks in the state of Florida, Florida National News, and on the national scale, the FNN News Network. I'm the managing director on the national side. All of that may sound amazing and impressive, but most importantly, especially for you as you're watching this, I'm a recovering procrastinator, believe it or not. It is true. It is absolutely true. I'm a recovering procrastinator. And we're not talking about just circumstantially. There are times when procrastination is only based on that specific thing that you're sitting on. It could be just a specific set of circumstances that you're dealing with that cause you to sit on something. I'm somebody that's been dealing with procrastination since childhood. So we're gonna get into it over the course of the show, over the course of the series. We're gonna tackle a lot of topics, but just know that you're listening to someone who has experienced this firsthand. I know what it feels like to buck up against it and how to overcome it. So you've got a friend in the fight. All right. So be sure to tune in every single week. Today is the launch episode, but the show will premiere every single week on Wednesdays, hashtag Winter Wednesday, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So on Wednesday this week, you will get an episode. All right. So definitely be sure to head over, make sure that you subscribed on YouTube where you're watching this from. If you're listening on podcast, head over to the Getting the Win show on YouTube. It is at Getting the Win. If you're doing a search on YouTube, Getting the Win on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, like this video if you like it, and make sure to hit the bell icon and hit all when you hit the bell. That way you get every single notification. You won't miss a single thing. All right. You won't miss a single episode. You won't miss any community posts. You'll get it all. You can also find Getting the Win Show on Instagram at Getting the Win Show on Instagram. And I'm also on Pinterest if that's where you live too, if you're a creative and you draw a lot of inspiration on Pinterest, join the Getting the Win show over there as well. So that is who I am and why you should listen to me. Just to give you a lay of the land of how the show is going to be. This show is a journey. So we will walk through the steps of how to overcome procrastination. It won't be entirely sporadic, just topics here and there. Like this is intended to be a journey. So you can watch from episode 1 all the way and actually feel like you're making progress along the way because progress is very important in overcoming procrastination. So this show is a journey. I'm walking too. Like I am not someone who is shouting from the mountaintop and looking down at you saying, this is what you should do. No, 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 no. I'm walking the mountain with you. I've been up there. I've been on the top of the mountain and fallen. Like there are times where I'm still on projects and will still procrastinate, but the difference now is that I know how to get myself back up and push forward and even have time to complete the project a little bit faster than I would have before. So stick with me, take this journey with me, and we will get the win together. All right. Now, this episode is actually a bit of proof of what I'm talking about with the process. Because while Wednesday is the exact day for each week, this is premiering on a Sunday because this is a deadline I had set for myself for the show. Like the show is something I've wanted to do for a while now. And I said, you know what? Let's set October 1st as the deadline to pull the trigger and get going. And deadlines are very important in terms of beating procrastination. So maybe this is something you may struggle with or something that you might want to put in your back pocket. But this is proof of it. We are here. All right. Now, as I mentioned, Winter Wednesdays, that's going to be one of the days across the week that are going to be special for us in the winners community. The next day that's going to be very special for us is Fridays, hashtag fulfilled Fridays. So on Winter Wednesdays, join me on IG, go to the at Getting the Win show on Instagram and share your wins with me. Whatever midweek wins you're experiencing, I'll cheer you on, you know what I mean? And continue to push you forward for whatever it is that you're working on. Share with me what you're working on. There may be some way that I can help you. There may be some bit of expertise that I have that is aligned with what you're doing. And I may be able to help unblock something for you so that you can keep going. So share your midweek wins with me. Let me know if there's any way that I can help you, and I'll be glad to. And then on hashtag Fulfilled Fridays, that's when we go over our wins for the entire week. We go over the Wednesday wins to give us the juice to go all the way to the end of the week. So Winter Wednesdays and Fulfilled Fridays, all right? Fulfilled Fridays. So Sundays are also going to still be important. Today is launch day for the show. However, Sundays are still going to be important. They're going to be self-reflection Sundays because, of course, Sunday is the beginning of a new week. And, we're going to have that conversation over on IG. Let me know what are some things you want to work on for the week ahead. Let me know some areas of opportunity, some things you might be struggling with, that thing that you're sitting on, and let's help you push forward. And I'll be transparent if there's anything that I'm stuck on. Let me tell you something, man. One thing I know about you is that you have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge. And a lot of us together, we can collectively help each other based on just the wealth of expertise that we possess. There's a lot of skills that we can all sharpen each other with. So self-reflection Sundays, be sure to keep that in mind. And you can start today, after you watch this episode, hop over on Instagram or write down below in the YouTube comments. Feel free. Let me know what are some things that you want to improve upon. And let me know what is that project that you have been sitting on that you want to start chipping away at again. And as I mentioned a little bit later in this episode, I will provide that meat to get you started. I want to provide you that meat to get you started. So again, if you want to follow, subscribe, all that stuff, the Getting the Win Show is on Instagram at Getting the Win Show. Subscribe on YouTube at Getting the Win. We're on Pinterest at Getting the Win Show, and also on Threads at Getting the Win. Because if you have Instagram, you've got Threads as well. Like they're both together. And of course, on LinkedIn, you'll find me on LinkedIn at Getting the Win Show, or find me on LinkedIn personally, Melissa Thomas, with 2 L's and 2 S's, spelled the British way. But just want to offer you guys that bit of information. So now, without further ado, we're gonna get into this. Let's get into the meat. Let's talk about how you can take that first step to break through procrastination. Now, in terms of breaking through procrastination, I think one of the most important things that we have to tackle is our mindset. That may sound cliche. You hear that a lot if you're in the personal development space, but it's so commonly harped on because it is by far the most important. There's a lot of productivity. There's a lot of productivity content out there. Proof of concept stuff works, but behavior modification is one thing. Creating habits, forming a schedule, things like that. And we'll get into all of that in details over the course of the show. Like as you continue to listen each week. Those things are all important, but behavior modification is only one part of it. If you're doing something habitually that you don't want to do, it might affect the way that you do it. you know? So the key is to make sure to sharpen your perspective on the thing because that will affect the quality with which you do it. And so I was recently watching an episode of The Table with Anthony O'Neill. Shout out to AO, you are the bomb. He had a young lady on there, Erica Lachey. You can find her at Erica Lachey on Instagram. The overall conversation had to do with Black love and Black relationships and Black excellence. However, what I'm touching on for you here today, the principle I want to present to you that stuck out to me so much in that episode, he shared this, and I quote, I am a luxury item.
I consider myself to be like a luxury item. Things that are luxurious require a lot more care. You know, I require the best lotions and oils to put on my skin, you know what I'm saying, because it's a luxury item. Same thing with my hair, the same thing with just who I am as a person. And when you respect yourself, you look at yourself like that.
I'm gonna say that again. I am a luxury item. So now I'm gonna turn this back, I'm gonna turn this over to you. Do you see yourself as a luxury item? Do you see that thing that you're sitting on as a luxury item? It can take any single form. It can be a book that you've been wanting to write. It can be something related to your side hustle that you want to do. It can be perhaps even something you may work a 9 to 5, and there may be a project in the 9 to 5 that you might be kind of sitting on because you don't necessarily feel like doing it. Or it can be something that you're working on in a ministry. You might be part of a ministry, something faith-based that you want to do, but you're kind of putting it off for whatever reason. I want you to think very carefully about that thing that you're sitting on. Do you see that thing as a luxury item? Here's why that's important. It is important to see yourself as a luxury item, first of all. Now, Erica mentioned that she's a luxury item, and it does show. Like, baby girl takes care of her skin. She looks fantastic. Just flawless skin. She looks amazing. He's nice and slim. She gets a lot of heat for that, but that is a sign of stewardship. Whenever you're dealing with a luxury item, whether it's a car, whether it's nice clothes, whether it's gear, luxury items require a certain degree of upkeep. And when that luxury item is something you love, you will do whatever it takes to put in the work for the upkeep. Can we agree on that? Now, do you see yourself as a luxury item? How's your upkeep? How's your upkeep? Are you, feeding yourself the right things, the right beverages, or you kind of doing the cheat meal thing? Or, hey, be fully transparent if you're someone who's like, you know what, I don't. Like, I'm constantly on the go. I eat out every chance I get. Or you eat out every chance you get, but only because you might be somebody who doesn't cook. Cooking might not be your thing, you know? But I wanna start off the whole conversation on procrastination with that concept because it starts with you first. You have to see yourself as the luxury item first, even before you look at the project you're sitting on as a luxury item. That comes second, but you have to value you the most first. And then you can look at the project you've been sitting on. How do you see you? I'll share my story. I'm somebody that for a very long time did not. I didn't see myself as a luxury item. I was always of the impression of, putting everyone first, putting everyone ahead of myself. I'm someone who will serve to death. But that's because that is my superpower. I am someone who's very helpful and I get a lot of life and energy from serving and pouring into people and helping them make their vision a reality. That is how I'm wired. And hey, that might be you too. If that sounds like you, by all means, shout out to you. You know what I mean? Not everyone is wired that way. We all have our different superpowers. But I am someone who put myself last and ended up paying the price as a result. Like my health began to suffer. And trust me, over the course of this series, I'll talk a little bit more about that. I won't get too deep into detail with that now, but I want to make sure to drive that point home. You have to first view yourself as the luxury item. Because once you matter to you, then anything connected to you will matter to you. I hope that makes sense. Anything connected to you will start to matter to you. Now, for the record, I am a person of faith. So that is also something you're going to hear in each episode. That's going to come out because that's who I am. I'm a firm believer in Jesus. I'm somebody who, like, his blood is all over me. It's going to come out. So the one thing that I do believe, I'm not forcing my faith on you, but the one thing I do believe, and everybody can agree, is that we have inherent value. You have inherent value. So whether you see yourself as a luxury item or not, the wonderful truth is you are. You may not see it now, you may not agree with this statement, but you are, whether you agree with it or not. And that's great news. That's actually great news. So with that, then, it is a lot easier to embrace the second part, that whatever is attached to you is also a luxury item. So think about whatever that thing is that you're procrastinating on, whether it's a project, whether it's something you need to budget for and save your money for to purchase. Maybe the discipline of budgeting might be getting to you, obviously, hashtag inflation. I get it. Trust me, I get it. The struggle is real out here. I feel you. However, that thing was important to you for a reason in the beginning. And this goes into the winning move. I'll recap this at the end of the episode, but go back to why that thing was important to you. Go back to why you decided to make it a priority in the first place. Why did you put it on your calendar? Why did you declare it out loud for anybody to know or hear? Why did you, declare it to yourself? Maybe it's a goal you made to yourself. Maybe you haven't shared it with anybody yet because perhaps you are afraid you might not meet the goal. Perhaps that's a common struggle for those of us who have dealt with procrastination before. There are times when we know that we've procrastinated before and we haven't met the goal. So we just like, don't keep it on the low. just so it doesn't seem so bad to others. They won't ask us about it. Trust me, I've been there. I know what that feels like. But let's revisit why you made that a priority in the beginning. Dust it off. Get you some polish, get you a rag, dust that baby off. What made you decide to make that thing a priority in the first place? Was it something to improve yourself? Was it something you were doing as an act of service for someone else? And maybe that's something that gives you life. You love to serve other people. Is it, hey, let's be real. Was it an egotistical goal? Maybe you were trying to prove a point to somebody. Like maybe they said something to you and your response was, watch me. It could be something like that. There's no harm in a goal like that either, as long as that goal is a self-improving kind of goal and not just spiteful. Because yeah, with the spiteful goals, you might get a little bit of reward, but there's not too much more gratification other than that. Whatever your motive is, revisit that. That's what I mean when I say take the rag and polish it off. The day-to-day minutia can be the dust, The majority of our day-to-day life is routine. It's very repetitive and it can make that goal unsexy. Or the day-to-day things may pull you away from the goal, especially if you're somebody that's trying to work on a side hustle or you're working on building up the side hustle to be your main, if you know what I'm saying. The day-to-day processes while you're in transition can either pull you away from what you want to do because that 9 to 5 might be a lot more demanding than you want it to be, or even the day-to-day processes to bring that side hustle to fruition. There may be some repetitive steps in bringing it to fruition, and that might be unsexy. So the goal when it comes to stuff like that is to love the process. But in order for you to love the process and love the journey, you have to constantly remind yourself of why you fell in love with it in the first place, why you set the goal in the first place. What is it about that thing that makes it a luxury item? Because when you remind yourself that it's a luxury item, you'll make sure to put in all the extra juice necessary for the upkeep. And that includes with yourself, with your own body, with your own mind. You are a luxury item. And the key is to remind yourself of that each and every single day. That way you can put in the upkeep for yourself too. We put in the time for all of the things that matter most to us. So that said, your mind, your body, your health, all of that should matter the most to you. That goal that you set for yourself should matter the most to you. Yes, there are other things. You've got your family, if if that applies to you. If you're somebody that's single, then it's definitely you. Since you don't have a family yet, it's definitely you. Yes, the 9 to 5 matters because that's the investor for your dreams. Yes, but don't abandon the dream while you're making sure to get the most out of your investor. Like, remind yourself of why that thing is a luxury item. Revisit why it became a love for you in the first place. And that'll give you the juice to push through the boredom or what you see as boring to do the tasks that are necessary to get it done. You are a luxury item. The thing that you wanted to get done and are sitting on is still a luxury item. Why? Because it's attached to you. It's directly attached to you. You have inherent value simply because you exist. You have inherent value. God created you, and He made the ultimate investment. And actually, He made the ultimate investment twice. He made the ultimate investment by creating you. That's number one. And then He went all in on you by sending Jesus to die for you. So not only did He create you, but He paid out fully for your soul. So He took care of your body first, and then He also took care of your soul. So you are indeed a luxury item, for sure. Therefore, the idea that you have, that thing that you're sitting on, is an extension of you. Whether it was an idea you came up with yourself, or whether it's an idea that God gave you, because there are times, boy, like He will download. And it's something that you'll know, like you're like, wow, like I never would have thought of that, but that's dope. Let me write that down. So either way you look at it, whether you came up with the idea yourself, or if it's an idea that that you got from God directly, one way or another, that thing that you're sitting on is a luxury item. So feed on that, like feed on that knowledge and let that fuel you to revisit it. Dust it off, revisit why you fell in love with it in the first place, why it was important to you in the first place. And from there, revisit the steps that you're going to need to take to finish it. There's a principle that I've recently learned. It comes from a book. The name of the book is Who Not How. And I've been hearing it repeatedly as part of the mastermind that I'm a part of, the UOU mastermind. Shout out to ET, the hip hop preacher. That is my coach. Love the man to life. Who, not how. And that is something that you can apply right now. If that's something you've been struggling with, maybe you've been shouldering the goal all by yourself. Maybe the thing that's going to help you break through isn't necessarily you finding another how. It might be a who. Like once you revisit what it's going to take for you to complete that goal, as you're revisiting all of the things that it's going to take, maybe right next to it, write down a who. Figure out the what that you're going to need to get it done. But then right next to it, take inventory of the people in your network and find out the who. Or maybe it's somebody you don't necessarily know personally. Maybe it's an influencer, a motivational speaker, transformational coach, somebody that you follow from a distance, or somebody you may be curious about following from a distance based on their expertise. Write that name down and start consuming their content. They may give you the solution that you need. So, with all of that said, the winning move for this week for you, at least as the end of this episode, the winning move is to take inventory. Take inventory of that thing that you're sitting on right now. The thing that you know you've been procrastinating on, that you know you should have gotten done maybe by the end of last week, by the end of last month, by the end of last year. Maybe it's something you've been sitting on for 5 years, for 10. But pick it back up, dust it off. I want you to take time, whether you have a bound journal or just a loose sheet of paper. But writing things down is very important. You're gonna hear me talk about that a lot in this show. Writing things down does something mentally. It helps cement what you put down. It locks it in, it seals it in your mind when you write it down. You're over 90% more likely to complete it when you write it down. So write down that thing at the top of the page. On the left side, write down the what. What things will be required to accomplish the goal. On the right side, write down the who that you can tap into to get it done. Because that's going to save you time and stress. If you're a procrastinator like me, you understand, or recovering procrastinator, I should say. We recovering procrastinators understand stress. And stress is not healthy for a luxury item. It defeats the purpose of the upkeep. All right? So that is your winning move for this episode. That is your takeaway, okay? Get your sheet of paper, write down that goal, and fall back in love with it. Fall back in love with it. Write down all the things you need to do to finish it, and find out who you need to reach out to, or to whose content you need to consume in order to finish it. And let me know in the comments. Write it below. If you're on YouTube, write it in the comments below. Hit me up on IG, tag me, DM me, whatever you feel you need to do to reach out to me. But let me know what that is. Let me know a few of those steps that you need to take, and who you plan to reach out to, because accountability is another huge anchor. But just to recap, you are a luxury item. That thing you've been sitting on is a luxury item. Now close with this. This is a personal story of proof regarding this. I joined the UOU Mastermind in June. Again, E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. He launched a second cohort of the UOU Mastermind. There was already an existing first cohort. Shout out to cohort 1. I'm known as 1.5 in the group because I've been serving both groups. But during one of our 6 a.m. accountability calls, we have one every single work morning, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. And during one of the morning calls, E.T. said he's working on a devotional to accompany the UOU, the New York Times bestselling book UOU. And he was working on a devotional, but he needed an extra set of eyes. He needed an extra detail-oriented set of eyes to work on the book. Mind you, unbeknownst to me, there was already a team of about 4 people that existed. Now, I reached out. I chose to prioritize myself, my dream, my goal. I love to serve, and E.T. has poured into me from a distance for years now. I first got put on to him back in 2017. And I've been following the Secret to Success podcast since then. So he and the entire squad have been pouring into me since then. So when he said he needed an extra pair of eyes to help clean up his book, I am already a freelance editor by trade. That's something I've had experience in since 2012. So I've had years of experience with it. I chose every single option I could find to reach out to this man. I DM'd the S2S podcast on Instagram, DM'd his personal account, DM'd him on Facebook, hit them up in Telegram. I emailed the support emails. I emailed as many people connected to E as possible. And then as it turns out, there was already a gentleman in cohort 1 who was leading the team that was editing the book. And I was already going to serve him. Like I was already scheduled to have a meeting with him to find a way to serve him and his goals and his purpose. I shared with him that I'm an 8-time self-published author, and the very first book that I ever published, under the leadership of the Holy Spirit too, the very first book that I ever published was a devotional. So I have plenty of experience with this. Needless to say, even with the 4 folks that were on the team, I was the 5th one by the grace of God. They brought me in. And I had the privilege of helping to edit Dr. Eric Thomas's UOU Mastermind 365 devotional that's coming out at the end of the year for folks wanting to take it into the new year. Gigantic honor for me. And that was because I chose not to sit on the possibility of the opportunity. Because I know ET moves very fast. And he has poured into so many people that there are plenty of people who would have done it for him. There are plenty of people who would have reached out to him to be the extra set of eyes. I wanted to be that person. And because I chose to take initiative, I became that person by the grace of God. So, proof. You can do this. Whatever that thing is that you're sitting on, that you may not have seen it as a luxury item. You may not have seen you as a luxury item. But both are important. Both are worth taking out the time to achieve and complete. All right. So I'll leave you with that. Again, the winning move for the end of this episode, the thing I want you to do, have that piece of paper, get that pen or pencil, take full inventory. What do you need to do to finish it? What do you need to do to get that thing done? And assign yourself some deadlines too. So make that a 3rd column. When you list out what you need to do to get it done, and then you list the list of who you need to either reach out to or follow to get that thing done. 3rd column, give yourself some wins. Give yourself some deadlines. And then I want you to get on that, okay? Get on that, all right? So again, you can follow me on Instagram at Getting the Win Show. Subscribe to YouTube at Getting the Win. And you can follow me on Pinterest at Getting the Win Show, Threads at Getting the Win. Getting the Win Show. Getting the Win Show. So again, like this episode if you liked it. Share, subscribe on podcasts too, wherever you follow your podcast. And I'll catch you on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Happy Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Make sure you get on that. All right. I want you to do that when you move. Let me know in the comments. Peace.